This conference will now be recorded.
So welcome again for those that are here and for those that came early. Thank you for joining. My name is Carolyn Nickel. I'm a certified holistic nutritionist and one of the owners here at the Energy Shack Juice Bar. And today I want to talk to you about how you can detox from home. The other thing as well is that if there is uh, any questions that you have while I'm going through this seminar, just throw them in the chat. If I can address them right away, I sure will. If it's a big one, maybe I'll address it at the end. But you are welcome to just ask questions all the way through, but just use the chat. And then, of course, we can use an open mic time at the end to go through if you have questions you'd like to verbally ask. So, uh, first of all, let's just talk about detoxing. And you might have seen this slide before, but I'd like to share or help us understand. I mean, you could be the cleanest eater in the world. If you're in the world, you are going to have some level of toxins in you. So the air that we breathe is full of pollution. Our food is full of pesticides, and when you buy organic, there's still some level of pesticides. Definitely a better choice, but that's for sure. That's very real. Medication. Many of A large percentage of our population is on medication. That's very poisonous for the system, and I know for some people they have to take it. But believe it or not, your supplements also create a lot of waste in the human body, and supplements are $1 billion industry. And so it's important that we know that most all food has some sort of waste byproducts with it. There is a lot of there's a lot of waste that is in our foods, and it creates a lot of toxic buildup. And we're eating processed food. As soon as you have to open up a package, it has been sprayed or has some preservatives in it. There's some sort of packaging, some sort of chemicals to keep it. Our body has to deal with all of it. So understand that even if you're eating super healthy, as long as you're breathing in this world, you are going to need to do some sort of detoxification. And the other thing too is that even if you live in your own clean bubble, the reality is that stress actually creates a major toxic overload on the liver, and most of us are under a lot of stress. And even if you're a pretty laid back, easygoing person, I don't find myself like a high stress or worry person. That's not me. But I mean, it doesn't matter. As soon as your body's like your eyes are looking at concrete instead of trees, believe it or not, but you're under stress. As soon as you get on that 401, even if you're not yelling at all the drivers, it's stressful. So everybody's got some level of toxins in them, and it's very, very important to detoxify. But I want to give you some good news here is that you were designed, believe it or not, to be detoxifying all day long. So you and I have the ability to naturally detoxify. So that's great. So because of that, why would I actually have to go through a detox process if my body was already built and designed? Because I want to tell you that your liver and my liver, probably there's a lineup there. There is a lineup at the liver, and the liver, especially in the day and age that we're living in, with the amount of processed food there is, with the amount of pollution there is, with the amount of stress there is, most of us, our body cannot keep up with the amount of toxins that we are putting into our system. So it is important that we do something to detox from all these pollutants. So I just want you to see here that your body, as I mentioned, was built with detox organs. So we have our detox organs. Um, we've got our lymphatic system, of course, which isn't a detox organ, but helps keep our immune system strong. Our lungs, people don't ever think about it. We think detox and we think liver. I don't know if any of you guys were on last week. I asked this question, and you can put it in the chat. I don't have a prize for you, but I will surely clap my hands. Um, who knows? I hope, did it come up already? What is the largest detox organ? You can just say it out loud or put it in the chat. The largest detox organ. Who knows? Who
Skin.
knows?
The skin.
Skin.
That
The
skin
skin.
is the right answer. Yay, yay, yay. Wonderful. So yes, skin is the right answer. Now, what is the primary detox organ?
The liver.
The liver. Good answer.
Mhm.
So the spleen is also part of that, and all of our cells only live and die for like 120 days. So uh, I guess some more than others, but generally, even our cells go through a life cycle. So the spleen has an important role. The kidneys have an important role. All of your blood vessels. There's a lot of there. Our whole system works in conjunction with each other to help keep us detoxified. Our gallbladder, huge part as well. So it's very important, as someone said, that the skin is the largest, and but that the liver is the primary. So that is absolutely correct. And what we need to know and understand is the liver. So what is the primary function of the liver? Of course, the liver has
Breakdown
so
top.
many functions. It's balancing our hormone. It's
Yes.
balancing our hormones. It's helping with the produce the cholesterol, the bile to digest food. But the primary function here is to cleanse the blood. It's going through many liters of blood every single day. And so it's very important that we have a good, healthy liver. Because if we don't have good blood, we will not have good health. And if the liver is backed up with toxins, our blood is not going to get clean. And some people have that realization when they end up with a fatty liver or other issues stemming from their liver being backed up. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. So it's very important as toxins come in through the bloodstream. They go through phase 1 and phase 2 of this liver detox of this detoxification that is in the liver. And then I like to call it a phase 3, where those toxins, now brought down to a less dangerous potency, are then entered back in through the bloodstream, in through the portals that will either throw them back out into the waste. So the fiber from our food picks that up. Or if it can't get rid of them just yet because there's too much work to do, or the liver's backed up, our body stores these extra toxins in our fat cells. And so if during that process where the blood is going through the liver, if the liver just, listen, I'm way too busy, bring that back maybe tomorrow. The blood system takes it and stores it in the safest place it can, which is fatty tissue that lines all of our bodies, every part of it. Now, although that's the safest place because hidden in fat, those toxins are probably the least reactive place, unfortunately, it's right by the bloodstream. So we're still going to end up with possible inflammation in the stored areas, but also those toxins will seep into the bloodstream. And what we can do to our body to help it with this process is to just stop eating all these toxins, also stop eating, period, and let the liver catch up a little bit, right? It's like your boss saying, you know what, I'm not going to add any more work to your load. Let me just give you a couple hours or a couple days. Just catch up. Like, how beautiful is that? Sometimes we feel real backed up at the Energy Shack here. And on holidays, we're always closed. And it's this little break where it's like, I get to catch up a little bit, right? And so it's really wonderful. It takes a lot of stress off the human body. So what are some symptoms? Like, how would you know if you even have a toxic overload? What are some symptoms we might have? Well, and again, there are, first of all, if I can put a little disclaimer on this, this does not mean that if you have any of these symptoms, you have a toxic overload, but I would say that most all of us do. But it could also mean other things. You might have low energy, as it says here, but you might have low energy or lethargy just because your iron is low or because you didn't get enough sleep last night. So that's real too. But we have that. We also have, so if your energy is feeling really low and usually it's high, it could be that your body's working so hard to do all of its processes because the liver is so backed up. So extra energy is being used unnecessarily because you've got a toxic overload. You know what I like to give the picture of, and I know not everybody here this evening is from Toronto. So when I say 401, I'm just talking about the highway, the main highway here in Toronto. But what I like people to think about this as far as the toxic overload in your bloodstream. Okay. So 5 o'clock in the morning, you're driving from point A to point B on the 401 or the major highway. Zip, zip, right? Generally, it's a pretty easy ride. Now picture that 12 hours fast forward at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That trip that took you 15 minutes to get to point A to point B is now going to take you 45 or an hour, right? Because 5 o'clock's traffic time. Picture your bloodstream as the highway. In order for all the processes of your body to work, your blood is the highway. So when you eat food that's high in vitamin C, your body is processing that food, digesting that food, and those nutrients go from your intestinal tract, break down into small molecules, and most of it is sent to the liver to be packaged up and sent to the right areas of the body. So say you ate some carrots and your eyes need some vitamin A because it's getting low up there. Though that beta carotene's converted to the vitamin A, the liver does a fantastic job and now it wants to send it to the eyes. But guess what? Because of all the toxic backup, it's not 5 o'clock in the morning in your bloodstream, it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to take so much longer for this vitamin A to get to where it needs to be because the blood's probably thick with a lot of toxins and there's so many toxins strewn all over the path of your bloodstream. So this is kind of a very, maybe a cartoon way of understanding the human body, but this is very, very real. So when you can get your bloodstream cleaned up, when you can get your liver functioning optimally and it's not backed up, zip, 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 zip. It's 5 o'clock in the morning every day in your bloodstream. You have a cut, it heals really quickly. You need the energy, you've got it. You need the vitamin A or the vitamin C at the right place, you've got it. This, if you can picture, is the way to even keep your immune system strong and healthy by regularly eating right, but also to making sure your body is detoxifying properly. So the other thing is that we talked about just now that the skin is the largest detox organ. And because the skin is the largest detox organ, if you do have a toxic overload, you might have some unknown rashes. You might have some extra rosy cheeks up here. You might notice some blotches on your skin or some, strange little pimples or cysts coming out. So this is also a symptom of the body having a toxic overload. Some of the other ones is belly fat. And the reason why belly fat shows the sign of having too many toxins is that especially if you're stressed out, emotionally stressed out, through the vagus nerve, we dump a lot of cortisol into our stomach and the body will begin to patch fat around the middle of the stomach to protect the body from these stress chemicals. So if that's happening to you and your body's patching fat around the middle, you have released way too much cortisol and your liver is probably in trouble. The other problem with that is wherever there's a lot of fat, the body starts using that as its storage unit. Don't you love that? You're at home and you clean out the closet and now everybody starts putting everything in there because it's clean. Well, that's what the body does. It does that as well. We human beings, like, we have no idea how we're so linked to our human body, like, intuitively, like, with the processes that are going on inside. But that's what happens is your body's like, wow, there's so much fat around the middle. No, let's take all the toxins and put them here. Well, that's a real problem. So now we're seeping a lot of toxins into our digestive system where our food's supposed to be digesting. That's not good. Now that it's mixing with your food, it's going back into the bloodstream. You can imagine it's creating a lot of mess. So again, you can have belly fat for another reason. Maybe you drink a lot of beer, but that also creates a whole lot of toxins, if I could say so out loud. You might notice that your blood sugar is unusually high, or your blood sugar is unusually high because the liver can't seem to control anything because the blood is thick. Cortisol is high, it's making the blood even thicker. Blood pressure elevated and blood sugar elevated are also a sign that you could be having a toxic overload. Bloating, gas, and digestion issues. This is also very real. Um, if your food is not digesting right, you probably have a backup for sure. And an imbalance of stomach acids in the stomach gut, and that like a dysbiosis in the stomach gut. Digestion issues, gas, bloating, something's not working right in your system. And so it's time to detoxify. You can have swelling in your joints, in your extremities. Your body might not be getting enough water. Your blood is getting thick. The liver's in trouble. That is also a sign. And maybe you have trouble sleeping. Maybe there's just too much toxin release. Your brain can't shut down. Your body's on overload. So if you're having trouble sleeping and this is unusual for you, it might be also time for you to do a detox. I mean, there's so many symptoms that people can have and so many reasons their body is speaking to them about detoxifying. I've just pulled a few of the main ones out of the hat. But even if you're not experiencing these things, it's really good to just take a break now of food and go on a detox. The other question is really, understanding first that the stored fats in our body, they, as I explained, hold on to the excess toxins that our liver cannot expel. And so you see here, we have this picture of the stomach, and you have that extra layer of fat. The body does that, especially as I mentioned, if you're stressed out. But you can see, that fat's just so close to the bloodstream, and that bloodstream's feeding everything, so that becomes a problem. I'm just going to mute. I see just a couple people are unmuted, and I'm just getting a little bit of feedback. If you're on a phone, it's *6 to unmute as well. So then I can, and you can unmute if you have a question. So that's very important for us to understand this whole stored toxin activity. Now, how often do you need to detox? And it really depends. If you need to set up a consultation with me so that I can one-on-one do an assessment of your health, and then I could say to you, oh my, we need to go 10 days on a fast. Or you know what, you're not doing that so bad. I think just 2 days is fine for you. So we can set that up through a one-on-one consultation. It's only $35 for 30 minutes. It's by phone or video like this, and it'll just be you and me, not 23 other people. But if you would like that, you can just go to our website and click on the consultation page. I'm happy to set that up with you. But I'll just give a generic understanding. If you are not on a lot of medication and you just feel like you're having a major toxic overload, I'd recommend you do a 3 or 5 day juice fast. If it's really bad, there's lots of inflammation, lots of swelling. And I think I even missed saying that part about the joint pain. It was on the other screen. But joint pain and body pain, that's a major sign of too many toxins, like major overload. Again, it could be other things as well, but that is a real sign. So if you're in a place where it's really, really, really bad, you might have to go 10 days. I don't recommend you go longer. But most people, if you're not feeling great, a 3 or 5 day cleanse is wonderful. If you're a little bit underweight or you're reasonably healthy, you're very athletic, but it's a good idea just to give your body a break. Even 2 days is fine. And I'll explain to you why we can only do a minimum of 2 days. I'll explain that in a minute. Now, if you're in a place where you have changed your diet, but you've come from, really bad blood pressure or blood sugar or high cholesterol, fatty liver, lots of inflammation, I would say that every 30 days, you just take a break and do a 2 or 3 day fast. Once a year, maybe do a longer one, but every month you should be doing this. In fact, for people with extreme inflammation, rheumatoid arthritis, you should almost be fasting. Like high cholesterol, very fatty liver, you should be doing 36 hours every week, to be honest. But if you're come to a place where you're reasonably healthy, you're sailing now, you're doing extremely well, you're feeling good most of the time, all you really need to do is a cleanse or a fast, maybe once a season, every 3 months, every 4 months maximum. Just stop and do a 2 or 3 day detox. And once a year, you still might do a little bit of a longer one. Okay, so that just gives you, and again, if I talk to you personally one-on-one, just seeing the names, I think I've spoke to most people here one-on-one, but if you need that again, I will make myself available for you. So let's understand fasting, and then I will give you what you came here and are waiting for. But fasting, understand definition, the willing abstinence or reduction from some or all food, drink, or both for a period of time. So I just want you to understand how the human body works. I regularly fast every single week, pretty much. It's a rare occasion that I miss a day of fasting. So pretty much every Wednesday, I abstain from food for 24 hours. Now, my weight doesn't change at all, zero. I don't go up, I don't go down. Why is that? Because the reason why I fast once a week is I like to give my digestive system a break, number one. But number two, as many people know, I'm like a God-fearing woman, and I have a lot of people under my care. And I know a lot of people that are not well, and it just gives me the opportunity to take a day and pray for people, really. Because, I'm starving all day, and every time my stomach goes, I'm like, oh yeah, I better pray for that person. So it's a good reminder because my days get busy. But why is it that on that 24 hours that I'm fasting, I have the exact same weight, not that I really step on a scale, but I can tell I'm like no lighter, no heavier. Because within 24 hours of fasting, we're just in storage mode. The body's storing. It's like, why is Carolyn not eating? Oh, she did this last week and the week before. So it just stores. Let me store all this nutrients. Let me store all of this fuel. Let's just keep storing and holding on to everything. Okay. So the first day of fasting, it's definitely a little miserable because your body's not really accessing very much to give you fuel. It's wondering why you're not eating, and it's not going to do very much. Once you cross that 24-hour threshold, now the body's like, man, she's seriously still not eating. Okay, guys, start getting some fuel going. Now, usually the body uses glucose for fuel, but I haven't eaten anything. And if I did, it was a little bit of juice with very little glucose in it. So what are we going to use for fuel? Guess what? Fat makes great fuel. So once you cross that 24-hour threshold, your body starts to burn fat for fuel. And you will be probably very familiar with this word, but it puts you in a state of ketosis, okay? So basically, ketosis is a metabolic state that occurs when your body burns fat for energy instead of using glucose. Now, that's why this ketogenic diet is so fad and everywhere, and everybody wants to do it, because what they're doing is they're trying to create a caloric deficit every day to put their body into a state of ketosis so it stops using glucose for fuel because it's a very low carb diet, high fat, and it's using the fats for fuel. Well, I'm not asking you to go on a ketogenic diet. I would if maybe you had some brain damage, but I don't believe that most people should be on a ketogenic diet. But I'm not asking you to put fat in your body so your body uses fat for fuel. I want you to not eat at all or eat in a major caloric deficit so that your body begins to use your fat for fuel. Now, if any of my students were listening to me, how does that work for detoxification? If I am going to use my fat for fuel, what is stored in those fat cells? Not just fat. What else is in there?
Toxins.
Toxins. You got it, Christine. Thanks for sharing that. So as your body is burning through the fat, it naturally bumps into toxins, and that toxin just lost its storage area and it gets released. So as the body starts burning fat for fuel, toxins are released. They go into the bloodstream. So during your fast, you might end up with a headache, or you might end up with skin rashes, or you might end up with, oh, why are my knees hurting me extra today? Because those toxins are in there. So it's important that while you're doing this fast, you're flushing, you're drinking lots of water. You want to like make sure that blood is moving. You're going for light walks, not super crazy exercise, but that you are moving whenever you can move, and you are allowing your blood to flush those toxins out. So you should be peeing a lot. You probably wouldn't poop a lot, but you may, because I'm going to show you some of the different detoxes that you can do from home. But that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to, just for this fasting time, you're putting your body into a state of ketosis. And that's just the best way to burn those toxins out of your system. But again, that doesn't happen until you really cross over that 24-hour threshold. And there are other ways to force your body into a state of ketosis, and we're going to talk about that in a second. So there's all different kinds of fasting. So there's timed fasting. So that is, that's what this intermittent fasting is about, where you have a timed fasting where for 16 hours, you're generally not eating. I believe that you should have a big breakfast, a good lunch, and fast from 3 p.m. until the morning, not skip breakfast and start eating at 12 or 1. Like, if that's not a recipe for disaster, because then you eat at 7 or 8 and you go to sleep on the food. No wonder you're not hungry for breakfast in the morning. That's a mess. So instead of healing at night when we're supposed to be, we're digesting at night. So intermittent fasting, the way that the media teaches us, is really backwards. But timed fasting can work very well, because if you've had pretty low calories for breakfast and lunch and you're fasting from 3 p.m. until the morning, you could possibly put yourself in a state of ketosis, and you can still burn that fat for fuel, release toxins while you're sleeping. So of course, if there was a scale, maybe you'll lose this many toxins because you still had some calories in the day. But if you're doing that regularly, you're giving your body the opportunity to, number one, get an absolute wonderful break from digestion. Digestion requires the most energy of the human body. So when you can give your digestive system a break, you really increase your energy, to tell you the truth. The other kind of fasting is just doing a raw fast. So you've got 1,000 calories or less, and this is something you can do on your own, is that you can just have some fruits for breakfast and go on the lower glycemic index, so the calories are lower. Go with your berries, maybe an apple. Stay away from mangoes and bananas. So you could do like fruits for breakfast, a salad for lunch, and I would, if you can do it two ways. You can completely avoid all fats and oils, but if you add the fats and oils, no problem. But you understand that the more you add to it, the more you're adding calories. And the more calories you have, the less need your body has to burn fat for fuel. So if you did a salad for breakfast and a salad for lunch, that's a whole lot less calories than fruits. It's just not very enjoyable. So you could do a raw fast in the way where it's all greens. You're only doing salads. Maybe you make a green smoothie in the evening and it's just greens. You're trying to keep your calories under 1,000 so that you are going into that state of ketosis. You can also, I like to call it a melon meals. So melons are very cleansing, especially when they're in season. So your watermelon, your cantaloupe, your honeydew. When it comes to fruits, I don't like to mix melons with other fruits. They digest very differently and very quickly as well, but they're extremely cleansing. So you may want to it's so enjoyable to just do like a melon day, where you're just having maybe a cantaloupe for breakfast, maybe a small watermelon for lunch. And you might, because melons digest so quickly, you may be eating 3 times, maybe even 4 times for the day. You might have to eat every 3 hours because you'll find yourself digesting it very quickly. If you're a diabetic, I don't recommend you do a fruit fast, and it doesn't have to be a fruit only melons. You could just do a fruit fast. But if you're doing a fruit fast, again, try to stay away from the high sugar ones like bananas and mangoes. But grapes can be good as well. And don't mix more than like three kinds of fruit in a sitting. But again, you are lower calorie than a cooked meal, but you're still not going to reach a high caloric deficit. So if you have a lot of toxins to release, a fruit fast wouldn't be ideal. But if you're athletic and you're in pretty good health, maybe you just want to take a break of food and just do a fruit fast. So that would be great. The other thing that's really good about doing a raw food cleanse is that there's fiber there. So now your bowels are moving. The fiber picks up the toxins from the system. Again, you're not releasing a ton because you still got calories there, but it's still a very healthy way to do a fast. The other thing, which I don't know if anybody follows Dr. Ben Kim. He's a chiropractor doctor in Canada that's really known all over the world, but he put me on maybe like 10 years ago to his favorite kind of fasting, which is called apples and celery. And I do that sometimes in the fall where I have one meal of just apples. I might just have two apples. Then my next meal is maybe like 6 ribs of carrots. The next time I'm hungry, and then I move on to water. When I'm hungry again, I have a couple apples. Next time I'm hungry again, I have a few ribs of celery. And I only do apples and celery for a couple days. And I find that is like really cleansing. There's so much fiber in both of the apple and the celery. Very like high in vitamin C, antioxidants. Celery is great for inflammation. So I've taken that from Dr. Ben Kim, but you're not putting peanut butter on your celery or your apples. It's just either an apple meal or a celery meal. Again, you're getting lighter as you're getting to the evening, so you're not doing a whole lot in the evening. You're just drinking herbal teas or whatever. But anyway, so these are raw fasts, and you could do it any which way. The only thing I would say is that after your meal, wait an hour, just drink water. When you're hungry again, have your second raw meal. Wait an hour, just drink water. If you're hungry again, have your third raw meal. Wait an hour, just drink water, and try to get to bed early. It's very important that when we're in detox mode and when we're doing a detox, we should be getting fresh air, sunshine when we can. We should be able to get to bed early, maybe do some hot and cold showers, hot and cold foot baths. So, take care of your body. Yes, many of us have to work through our detox mode, but there's still, a lot of ways that you can take care of yourself. So juice fasting, I'm sure many are familiar with because we sell them here at the Energy Shack, where you're going to have a juice for breakfast, a juice for lunch, a juice for dinner. If you're juicing on your own, I'm going to give you a few tips on that in a moment. But you can have as much juice as you want. I mean, we give you 1.5 liters per day because I want you to go in a major caloric deficit. But you can have 5 liters a day if you want to, but just understand that the more juice you drink, the more calories you have, the less toxins you burn. Okay? So, and I don't recommend you mix the fruits and vegetables because, again, the fruits are higher in calories, number one, and it's not great for digestion. Water fasting is the most effective way of fasting, actually. It's
Um,
very difficult.
I have I have a question. So the apples should not be mixed with the vegetables?
No, never. We always keep fruits and vegetables separately because um, fruits and vegetables digest differently. So if you'll notice, none of our juices in our stores have any fruit in them. It's just all vegetable. We do have a couple fruit juices, but use carrots or beets or sweet peppers to sweeten your juices. And we don't always have to have everything sweet. But yes, Michelle, we're not mixing fruits and vegetables.
So apple should not be mixing with the vegetable, but it's low glyc apples is not so sweet if you're using the green apples to mix with the vegetables.
They still digest like a fruit and it requires different enzymes. So it becomes a mess in the stomach. It's not going to
Okay.
send you to the grave, but I highly recommend you don't mix your fruits and vegetables.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now, technically speaking, a cucumber is a fruit because it has seeds in it. The definition of a fruit is seeds in it. But it's not a sweet fruit. So the body digests it like an apple or an orange or a pear or a banana. So I know green apples aren't that sweet, but when we juice them, our lemonade is pretty sweet. So they do have a level of sweetness to them that a lot of fructose to them. Not as much, but it does. So don't mix your fruits and vegetables if you can avoid it. So a water fast is the most effective way of fasting, but I don't recommend that you do that without some sort of monitoring. And I don't recommend you do that to an extreme. So I wouldn't recommend anybody water fast for longer than 3 days. I know people water fast for 12, 20 days, 30 days. I find that these are extremists. And then when they're finished their fast, they eat in the other direction, the other extreme. So don't be an extremist. Do things moderately. And if you are going to go longer than 1 day on a water fast, you should tell somebody so they can check in with you, see how you're doing, make sure you're okay. I know I've fasted on water for about 3.5 days, and on my fourth day, I like literally woke up and I was seeing stars. Like I wasn't okay. So you need some electrolytes. You might have to put salt in your water if you get to day 3 or 4. But anyway, water fasting is the best. It really is highly effective. There's no calories, right? So your body's burning the most toxins. And because you're drinking a lot of water, you're also flushing the toxins out. So a water fast is the best, but it's difficult to do. Broth fast, which I'll show you in a minute, is also very effective, where you can make your own homemade broth and just drink the broth. Very little calories, but it's so nourishing. And when we fast in the winter, it's so warm. So that's another option. You can also do what's called a mixed fast. So maybe I'm going to have some fruits for breakfast. And after that, I'm going to have a vegetable juice. And maybe I'm going to have a salad, maybe another vegetable juice. So you can do a mixed fast. It doesn't have to be, or maybe you just have one salad in the morning and you're juicing on vegetable juice for the rest of the day, or fruits in the morning, vegetable juice for the rest of the day. So you don't have to do a raw fast or a juice fast or just a water fast. And like we are doing this challenge, I recommend, we're going to start with a water fast, then we're going to go and do a juice fast, and then we're going to do what's called a dry fast. And with the dry fasting, it's very interesting how this dry fasting works. It's extremely powerful. But the way the dry fasting works is I like to do it at the end of a juice cleanse. But some people dry fast just like in their regular weekday of eating. But I don't recommend that because I find it's much more effective when you've already been cleansing and releasing some toxins. So what a dry fast is that for 16 or 20 hours, you're not drinking and you're not eating. There's not even water. Some people don't even brush their teeth or take a shower. You're putting yourself in a state of dehydration. Again, unless you're being monitored or you have a professional that you can contact, say, that knows that you're doing this dry fast, you shouldn't do it by yourself because you may not do it right and you could totally end up dehydrated. But the idea is that so when we do our dry fast for the challenge, we finish, you finish your last juice or drink of water, say at 2, 3, or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You're counting 16 hours from there without 1 ounce of water or juice. And so what happens is, as you continue to go closer to the 16th hour, the body is in desperate need for water. So what does it do? It starts to find water. And it will go into your interstitial fluids and start to pull water deep within the cells. And most of us, we're not drinking enough. We're not recycling a lot of that water. And sometimes water can get trapped in certain areas. And deep in those interstitial fluids, where all of that old water is, can a lot of toxins be stored. So it's important, not important, but the whole purpose of this dry fast is that it pulls that old water out. And as it pulls that old water out, even more toxins are released. And then you break your fast with some water. And I'm telling you, like this 7 day fast, this 7 day challenge that we had put up, and we're getting a lot more interest, and we're so full this last Sunday. So if anybody here is interested, I may open up one more Sunday. We'll see. But that dry fasting, when I had done that a couple years ago with the group, that was quite a beautiful experience for me to go through that. It was really revitalizing. I felt so revitalized at the end of the 7 days. I've done 10-day fasting as well, but there was something about ending it with the dry fast that just made me feel so clean and full of energy, as if I don't already have enough. So I also want you to understand how important it is to drink water. While you're cleansing, unless you're doing the dry fast, you do need a lot of water, and you're also welcome to have true herbal teas. So I'm not talking about celestial seasonings. That's like, apple cinnamon or peach cobbler, because those have artificial flavors. But these are, I'm talking about having herbal teas that are like peppermint or hibiscus or rosehip or chamomile or moringa or cerasee, like true herbs that you are just rejuvenating. Folks, I'm just going to ask you to give me 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, and you can also just think of any questions that you may ask as we're going to enter into just a little bit more detail. I wish I had a commercial to show you. I just had a staff leave and I need to close the front door. So give me just 1 minute and I will be right back at you. All right. So as far as the fasting goes, so just again, a picture of our mixed fast. So it could be a fruit meal, it could be a salad meal, it can be juices, it can be a variety of those. So maybe you're going to fast for 3 days, and you're going to do one that's just a fruit fast, one that's just a salad fast, and you're going to end it with a juice fast. Or maybe you go 4 days and then you do a water fast for one of them. So a mixed fast can be a variety, all in one day or spread out. And these, again, are things that you could do at home. Now, when I'm talking about juicing, I'm not talking about blending. I wouldn't recommend you do a smoothie fast, because smoothies are not the ideal way to eat. They're generally cold. We generally don't swish it in our mouth before we swallow, so we don't get the enzymes because we're not chewing it. So I never recommend doing smoothie fasts. Those are just not a good idea. Vegetable broth fasting. So this is a really interesting, warm, wonderful way to enjoy fasting. And again, this can be a part of a mixed fasting as well. You can do this vegetable broth even when you're on any of our juice cleanses or your own. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to pick any bunch of your favorite vegetables. I always recommend you include some garlic and onion in there. Throw your favorite herbs in there, dill or cilantro, rosemary. But I would also recommend, because wait till you hear what I'm going to tell you to do with them, I would also recommend that not the bad pieces, but like, the stems of your broccoli that are loaded with calcium, but nobody really wants to eat. The outer leaves of your cauliflower that, again, we always throw away, but is so good for us. Those inner parts of the celery that nobody wants to eat. Some of the carrots that don't look so pretty, but they're good. So you may want to put those in the pot rather than your pretty looking vegetables, but you want to throw some greens in there. Like I said, the onions, celery adds some good flavor. You're going to let it boil. So just what you're going to do is just going to put them in the pot, roughly chop them. Don't even spend too much time. Throw them in there. No salt, nothing. And you're just going to just cover them with water. and you're going to turn your heat on high. And as soon as it boils, put it down to low, okay? And just let it simmer for 1 to 2 hours. Just letting it simmer for 1 to 2 hours. And after 1 or 2 hours, you're just going to remove it from the pot, put it over a strainer, and you're going to strain out all the vegetables, toss them away. I did say toss them away, and just drink the broth. I'm not a food waster, but I will tell you that there's nothing left in these vegetables except fiber. So if you want to keep them and freeze them to add to your casseroles or muffins later on, no problem. But understand and know that the iron, the calcium, all those good minerals are now in your soup broth. But you can keep that. You can make batches and batches of it. It freezes well for 30 days. It will keep in your refrigerator for 4 days, 5 days probably. And every time you are hungry, instead of just having water, herbal tea, or your juice, you can just do the broth. And that broth is full of calcium. It's got lots of iron. It's so gentle on the stomach. It's really yummy. I was just talking with a client this evening who was like, I can't believe I waited all this time to make this broth. It is so wonderful. And it's hard to believe there's no seasonings in it. It tastes so good. It's just on a cold winter day, especially when you're fasting, doing a vegetable broth, it's rather inexpensive way for you to fast because you're creating a major caloric deficit by having this broth. Because there's like little to no calories in there, but it's also healing. And I do recommend, even if you're not fasting, that you just make this your dinner. So, you have your nice big breakfast with your fruits and your breakfast item. You have your nice big lunch with your salad and your cooked meal. And you just have this vegetable broth for dinner. Wow, it is so wonderful. And especially for those who are battling things like arthritis or digestion issues, lots of joint pain, this just adds so much calcium into your bones and joints. So this is my favorite kind of fast, is that vegetable broth fasting. And just some principles for your vegetable juice fasting, because of course, we do that here. But if you're going to do some vegetable juicing on your own, I just want to give you some principles. And now, folks, this is not a blender. This is not your Vitamix or your Bullet. This is where pulp comes out one end and juice out the other. Okay, so that's what we're trying to accomplish here. And so if you are going to do this, I would recommend that no more than half of your cup is carrots. Okay, so you have got your bottle of juice here. Only half of it will be carrots. The other half can be whatever vegetables you want. But to do carrots and then beets, that's just way too sweet. And then people throw an apple in there. Now we're spiking the blood sugar. Now we are adding way too many calories. So to keep your calories low and not spike blood sugar too much, because that'll just make you hungrier, no more than half carrots. And then the rest can be whatever vegetables you want. If you're doing a beet, don't do more than half of a small beet, okay? Or a quarter of a larger beet. Beets, in order for the body to take the pigment out of the beets, it's a lot of action in your digestive tract. And that's why for some people who do not have all the good flora bacterial in their intestinal tract, you could end up with the runs. You can end up with like lots of diarrhea and loose bowels. I mean, it's good. It's getting the bad stuff out. But there's just so much action that it stimulates peristalsis. And that means that your intestines, your colon is contracting, and you end up, really having liquid bowel movements when there's way too much beets. Okay, so don't do too much beets, but a little bit of beets is fine. And try to only pick like, maybe 5 or 6 vegetables. Don't do like 10 different vegetables. Give yourself a stomach ache. Now, dandelion are an excellent vegetable for detoxifying the liver. It's so powerful, but it's so bitter. So just be careful with that, and think a little outside of the box. Like you could juice string beans, which is excellent for diabetes. You could juice bitter melon, which is amazing for your pancreas. You could throw some garlic in there, which is wonderful for blood pressure and blood pressure and your overall immune system. So think about, don't pick more than 6 vegetables. Don't mix your fruits and vegetables. If you've been fasting for a long period of time, like you're going past 3 days, then sure, make yourself an apple juice if you want in the morning. Just have like some sort of a juice in the morning that maybe will be a fruit juice if you're going for a long haul. Okay, so that would be fine, but generally you don't want to mix the fruits and vegetables, but also you don't want to have so many fruit juices because again, you won't be putting yourself in a caloric deficit. Go easy on the ginger. We are a juice bar that will not sell ginger shots. It has done so much damage to people's digestive tract. So we definitely add ginger into our juices, but go easy on your ginger. Don't overdo it on the ginger. Lemon in juices is like salt to food, like sugar to baking. Lemon just brings out all the flavors of the juice. However, some people have digestion issues that lemon really bothers their stomach, so they can't have lemon. But if you don't have those issues, add a bit of lemon to your juices. And if you have an organic lemon, you could just juice that lemon, and then you get all the nutrients and vitamin C from the skin and peel. We do that on some of our juices. So don't forget your herbs. You can juice things like parsley if you like the taste of dill. If you like cilantro, you can juice all of these things. Um, and you can do, just thinking, you could do basil, you could do watercress. Watercress is so good for you. Try to, when you're juicing, try to get your vegetables organic. And if you can't, if you fail to get organic, you can get your vegetables in season. And garlic and onion, maybe you don't love the flavor, but it'd be good to maybe plug your nose and drink one of those juices because they're full of sulfur, and that's so, so good for the liver. So, folks, those are the types of fasting that you can do completely on your own. I hope I've helped and equipped you. But if after you listen to this, you're just like, yeah, too much work, I will just order from the Energy Shack. Then in that case, for you, just tonight, and it will only be till midnight, but I hope you're not staying up till midnight. Just for those listening, today only, I will give you 10% off any detox. We are not running any specials for January, except for you, 24 people that have come out tonight. And you just go on our website and you can use the code DETOX, DETOX, and you will be able to get 10% off your detox. If you would like to not do any of this yourself, then I will give you a discount for getting them from us. So at this time, I'm just going to take, you can throw some questions in the, chat, and I'm just going to address them. So here's a question from Denise. A great topic about loose. What other veggies besides beets give you loose bowels? That's a good question. Loose bowels, generally, as far as loose bowels go, I've only noticed that beets really do that. However, I have clients that the vegetable juices, period, whether it's carrots, greens, whatever, give them the runs. But that's because they have like really bad digestion issues and they don't have enough good probiotics to hold anything. But generally, for all populations, generally beets make everybody's bowel loose because there's so much purple pigment in there, that the body has to work so hard to get that pigment, to work through that pigment, that enzyme action creates peristalsis, which makes the bowels loose. So all vegetables will give you good bowel movements, but the runs generally just beets. Sorry, you can tell I'm distracted. I can't do two things at once, and I'm reading the chat while I'm talking to you. What is this disc code valid to? And I will answer that question about the salt water. This detox 10% off is only valid tonight till midnight, but you can buy it today and use it whenever you want. So you don't have to like get your juices tonight or tomorrow. And the other thing too is that you've asked how long does our bottled juices last if not stored in the fridge? Maybe an hour, maximum 2 hours outside of the fridge. But in the fridge, they last 3 to 5 days. And if you want to get, or if you have our juices, and this is not for everybody's juicer, we have a cold press juicer. So heat is not involved in the process of making the juice. But if you're using your juicer from home, you generally, unless you have a cold press juicer, you generally have to juice and drink right away. Ours, you don't have that issue. And our juices, if say you didn't finish the detox, or say you picked up the detox and you're just like, oh, I just got my cycle. Sorry, guys that are listening. I can't fast today. You can just take the juices out of the glass bottle, put them in Ziploc bags, and freeze them. And they're good there for 30 to 60 days in your freezer, and then you just thaw them out the night before. I just want to go back to that question about why do you have to have salt in your water? Your body needs minerals, they need electrolytes. And so when you go through dehydration, somebody who's been vomiting or diarrhea gets very dehydrated, and you recommend coconut water, which I have to get back to in a second, talk about coconut water, but your body needs the electrolytes. So that's why if you're fasting for long periods of time on water, that you should add a pinch of your salt to your water, like a Himalayan salt, so that your body could just have those electrolytes. It's
So how
very,
many
very important.
salts would you, how many salt per gallon, how many salt per gallon you would add? If you,
That's a good
or per cup?
question. I would say like maybe a quarter, a half teaspoon, like not a lot, just a pinch of salt. Because the truth is that your body cannot even absorb water without electrolytes. Like it needs electrolytes to absorb water. But most everybody has a reserve of electrolytes in their system. But when you're fasting for such a long period of time, you do run out of those reserves. So that's like Gatorade, right? Because
Okay.
Gatorade has salt in it, or Powerade. It has sodium in it, so that water, that liquid Gatorade, is absorbed in the system quickly because it's full of electrolytes. Okay, but
Oh,
coconut water naturally has electrolytes in there. So if you have a pure coconut water, nothing added, you could also add that into your fasting time, whether it's juice or raw fast or mixed fast or water fast. Wouldn't really be a water fast. Now it's going to be a coconut water and water fast. But that's also an option. So folks, I don't want to keep you. I like to keep my seminars to 1 hour long. I'm not running away. I'm happy to go. I'm happy to be here. Um, but I just wanted to see if anybody has any questions.
okay, so if you're doing a 3-day water fast, as I did the other day, it's good to add salt in the water.
On the third day,
Oh,
just a little bit.
okay. Mm.
Yeah, just a
Alright.
little bit. On the third
Mm.
day only. Day 1, day 2, you're fine. And
Okay.
even day 3, you might be fine. But this is if you're going for long periods of time. But even on day 3, I would start adding some salt to the water.
Okay.
And just want to see, and the detox. So this is the coupon code if you do need to buy juices tonight. The coupon code is Detox, and that will be valid this evening. You know what, guys? I'll leave it open so that nobody's rushing and everyone can go to bed early. I will leave it open until tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Okay, so that you don't have to rush.
And how
You
much
can
is
pick
it?
it up.
How much is it for the
It's a ten
detox?
percent. It's a 10% off discount till tomorrow at 5 p.m.
I
But
know.
of
How much
course,
is it? How much is the detox?
they range in prices from $69 up to $200. They just
Okay,
break.
or depending. Okay.
Yeah.
Or 3 day. Okay, okay.
3 days like 105. So it's going to be
Oh,
it's an online price only. And I'll leave
okay.
it open till tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, if does anybody have any other questions? I was trying to equip you to do the detox on your own. You should use me as your last resort. That's why you're here tonight, to learn how to do it yourself. But if
Carlin, I
I
have one question. I have one question. You were saying to put lemon in with your juice. Now, if I'm doing vegetable juices, is it okay to put the lemon in there? Because you said to not mix fruit and vegetables.
sweet fruits and vegetables. So
Oh,
lemon,
okay.
yeah, lemon doesn't have a problem because it's definitely not sweet.
Oh,
Okay.
great. Thank you.
If you're doing acidic juice, what is known as acidic fruit? What is acidic fruit?
The truth of the matter is that all fruits and vegetables in the body, they may be acidic on the surface, but they're alkaline in the stomach.
Oh, okay.
So you don't really have to worry about that too much, really, acidic fruits versus non-acidic foods. But of
Mm.
course, your citrus are going to be a little bit higher on the acidic side, pineapple a little bit higher on the acidic side than, maybe an apple or some berries, maybe papaya or berries.
Okay, those are acidic.
Those can be acidic, yes.
Oh,
They're not acidic. They're not acidic. They're just a little bit more acidic, but in the stomach, even lemon is alkaline.
okay.
The stomach is super, super acidic. That's how it digests food. Your fruits
Okay.
don't even compare to the acidity in the stomach. Vinegar is a
Okay.
problem, not lemon juice and not fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the seminar. I hope that was valuable for you. Thank you for being a part of it. And we're just going to keep this going. If you do need to set up a consultation, get a detox, feel free to just reach out to me directly. You can go online or email me. You can reply to the email when we send one out. I'd be happy to help you. Have a very good night, guys.
Thanks,
Take
Okay.
care.
Carolyn.
Happy
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.
fasting.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye bye.
you. Okay. Bye. And good to see all these beautiful faces.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.